are all unique and have our own personal story. So dive in with me and let's get to know some extraordinary people. Hey guys, another bonus episode for you in honor of April Fool's Day. I have my sister Julie, the queen of pranks, tell some great stories. All right, we are here with my sister Julie, aka Gina. Are you ready to dive in?
I'm ready.
Okay, so the majority of the time that I talk to you, and I probably talk to you a couple of times a day on the telephone.
At least a couple.
And you don't even live here. You live in Utah.
Yep.
You're here visiting. But what do I always call you?
Gina.
Gina.
So does my husband.
Where does that start? Where did that start?
I think it's from that show, that Martin show or something.
When they used to always say, damn
Gina. Yeah.
Okay, so I always call you Gina, but you're Julie. But for my listeners throughout this podcast, I'm probably going to refer to you as Gina.
That's totally
More
fine.
Gina than Julie. But one of my favorite stories, when we were at BYU, we were roommates, and we had a friend, Carlos.
Yes.
Do you remember this? We were pulling into our apartment in the parking garage under our development
that we weren't allowed to park in.
Yeah. Really, we weren't. Okay, so anyway, we pulled into that parking lot. We were parking in our space, and we were waiting for somebody, I think. Somebody was doing something dumb in the parking lot, or we were waiting for somebody to leave so we could get into a space or something. But anyway, you said, dang, Gina, come on, hurry up, Gina. You were talking about to this other person. You were just referring to this other person as Gina. Okay, you let it go. Carlos was in the car with us. So we park and we get out and we start walking. And the girl that was in that car was walking outside by us. And Carlos is like, hi, Gina. Like totally innocent. But remember, Carlos was so friendly and just wanted to talk to
everybody.
Excuse me. Want to talk to anybody. And everybody was being so sincere. And I think about that all the time because we were being kind of like a smart aleck, right? Come on, Gina, hurry up, Gina. And then we're walking, hey, Gina.
I don't remember that. That's
you don't
funny.
remember
I
that?
don't remember that, but I do remember Carlos.
That was so funny. So whenever I think of Gina. So this is a special episode in honor of April Fool's Day.
My favorite holiday.
Yes, which you're not kidding.
No, I'm not.
This is what's so funny because most people's favorite holidays are Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving.
Yep.
You truly love April Fool's Day. And so I had to have you come on for this bonus episode because I want you to share.
It's so awkward. I'm not used to talking to you, looking at you. I feel like I need to turn my back because we talk on the phone.
We're getting kind of comfortable here. No, it's funny.
You can cut that out. I just
Nope.
Funny.
Okay, so I have you on because I want to talk about pranks because you have done some epic pranks. I'm honored that I've been part of some of these, but not all of them.
Most of them, though.
So I want to hear from you. What has been your favorite April Fool's joke or just a prank?
My favorite one will probably be the one I did on John. Right before we're going to bed, I went in the garage and I moved the car, backed the car out and drove it down the street to my neighbor's house. Came back in, got in bed, and took the clicker with me. And then right before he was falling asleep, I pushed the clicker and I'm like, John, did you hear our garage? He's like, what the crap? And so he's in his garments, his underwear, and he runs into the garage. And he's like, oh my gosh, we're getting robbed. Somebody robbed me. My car's gone. And he goes running down the street in his underwear. And then he saw it at the neighbor's house. He's like, they're hitting up the neighbor's house. Go warn them. They're getting. And I started laughing. And when he realized I was joking, he was so mad. He did not talk to me for the rest of that night. Probably the next morning either. But that was one of my favorites.
Oh, that's so funny. Has he ever tried to get you back?
We scare each other all day long.
Yeah.
But he hasn't done like a major, well, I don't know. I don't think he's done a major prank, but we scare each other all the time.
So do you find that your kids are starting to pick up on your pranks?
Yes.
Who out of all four of your kids, who's the biggest prankster?
Jude.
Or who appreciates it the most?
Actually, the other night I got in my bed and in my sheets were the whole box of Poppets, those Poppets. He didn't realize it was too soft and wouldn't pop if I got in my bed. But yeah, so he did.
So he thought you'd get in bed, you'd lay down, and
yes.
it would start.
Which
popping.
reminds me of another joke on John with the poppers.
Let's go.
I lift up the toilet seat lid and lined the whole toilet seat with poppers. And then I put my video camera, before phones had cameras, on the counter. And I knew he was going to the bathroom, so I recorded it a little bit before. And he came in and sat down, and he thought the toilet was breaking. And he went flying off the toilet. Yeah, so that's a good video, but I could never share that video.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. Well, we could technically share.
If I can find it.
You could blur out the
it won't need a lot. Parts. It won't need a lot of blurring. Just joking, John.
Okay. All right. What has been your longest ongoing prank?
Well, I think it's when we did in college.
Okay, let's hear it.
And you might have better memory of this, because I was trying to remember.
Well, I feel like we should have Sarah here too.
Sarah and Aubrey.
Because all of us had. Well, you start, but then I can interject and tell some stories from my standpoint, because this was big.
Like a semester long, at least. Right?
And to the individual that we did this prank to, I don't know. Does this individual
use a different name? Maybe we should use a different name.
Let's use another name, because
Ralphie. We'll use Ralphie.
Love it. Okay.
So our roommate, my good friend, had a friend, right? And his name was Ralphie. And did he have a crush on Aubrey?
It maybe started on Aubrey, but eventually went to Sarah.
So he was coming over a lot, and that's right. He was like kind of flirting with Sarah. I can't remember. Anyway, we somehow tricked him to believe that Sarah was deaf, and that she could not talk. And he took the measures of even learning. Didn't he learn some American Sign Language so he could communicate with her?
Yes, some of the basics.
And then one time he called the apartment, and Sarah answered, and he was like...
Sarah's our little sister in this scenario.
Who he was developing a crush on. And he's like... Sarah? Oh my gosh, like, how can I talk to you? And she's like, oh, they have this new technology that you can type, and it sounds like a human voice. And the poor kid fell for it.
And this Ralphie was no dummy.
No, he was getting his...
Was he like an engineering degree or something?
No, I think it was speech pathology.
Was it?
That's how he knew Aubrey,
With
I think.
Aubrey?
Maybe not. Maybe
I don't know. But he was very book smart, okay? Very smart guy. And... this went on for a good year, at least.
And I think he even brought his mom over to meet Sarah.
Yes.
And she had known some sign language too.
Yes. And so when he brought his mom over to meet Sarah, Sarah was there. And we are way too far into this
the funny thing is, I think Aubrey told him at one point we were joking, and he got so mad.
You're absolutely right.
So she said, no, I'm just teasing with you. And then he felt so much better.
You're absolutely right. It was a few months into it, probably like a good 6 months into it, that Aubrey did make that joke. You're right.
No, that was
and it was like one of those moments where you're going to come clean, and then you see the reaction.
And it's not worth it.
And it's just like, oh, you retract it. Oh, just kidding again.
Just keep going.
So you're right. So his mom came in to visit from Chicago, I believe. And Ralphie knocks on the door. Sarah answers. And the mom, and this is a good time to actually watch this episode on our YouTube channel or through my site, because you got to see the visual on this one. So Ralphie and his mom knock on the door. Sarah answers, and his mom is like, hi, Sarah, so nice to meet you. And like trying to like really talk, but really pronounce it with her lips, right? Like she's going to be lip reading this, and just being so quiet and just like delicate and so nice about it.
Sarah was awesome. She went along with that.
She did.
Nice.
But down deep, there were many times where I just felt so bad about it, but we just couldn't break it to him.
Nope.
And I'm not sure he ever found out. Did he ever
find
out?
So.
And that's just almost cruel.
I know.
He's probably talking to his friends about this girl that he used to date that was deaf.
I know, seriously.
Maybe he married a deaf girl now.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you never know. Or maybe one of our children might end up deaf as a punishment for what we did.
Or my ears.
Yeah, you do struggle with your ears. I
struggle with my ears. So.
Ear infections. But yeah, that was, there were so many different instances where we would just be hanging out in our apartment, and he would pop on over, and Sarah would be mid-conversation, but she knew how to turn it off. Even when our Lady D concert, I remember Sarah was there. Wasn't she up singing with me on one of them? Or just there, maybe just talking, and he walked in and it was like she caught herself and had to stop.
Yes.
So, okay,
let's go to that Mary D concert.
Lady D.
Sorry.
Okay, Lady D.
Who did we say? We made flyers.
Peter Breinholt.
Yes, we made flyers through the whole ward and friends in Utah.
And even just up at BYU campus.
Yes, that we made flyers that Peter Breinholt, who we didn't even know.
Is Breinholt or Breinholt? Some
I don't know.
cheesy singer that was very well known on the BYU campus.
Yes.
And just like a lot of people loved his cheesy music.
So we made up flyers saying he was coming to our apartment for
just a private little concert.
And so we had that place packed.
We did. We had probably 100 people in there at least.
Yes, it was packed. And they really thought Peter Breinholt or Holt, whatever his name is, was coming to perform. And then they got the shock of a lifetime. Were you in a closet?
I was in a closet upstairs. Remember we had that loft upstairs? I was in a closet.
Did we say you were having an opening, or do we just said here he is? I can't remember.
I believe you said Peter got into an accident or he's running late. I just remember he was.
I think it was snowing. We blamed it on the weather.
He was caught up in a snowstorm and would not be able to make it. However, we have an awesome show for you, Lady D. Yours truly.
And Amy popped out of the closet, probably in her Dolly Parton costume.
Yes.
And did you perform originals?
Some big boobs,
a wig on, mini skirt, cowboy boots.
We probably have photos of that somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure we do.
But I do want to say one thing. My cousin Russell, his best friend at the time, he invited his best friend, and our roommate Aubrey invited her little sister Lindsay. And they met and they got married. And they met at the Lady D concert.
That's right.
Yes.
That was a good one.
So, yeah, I came out and I just performed a lot of country songs. No originals because I didn't have any originals. But some Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, I believe. I cannot remember what songs they were. Funny. I wish we had a video of that.
I know. We'll try to find a picture of it.
Yeah, but I'll bet you anything we have a picture of it somewhere. So, my Lady D concert. But we had a lot of people there and everybody was very supportive.
That's funny. That reminds me of another story.
Let's hear it.
Our next door neighbors there at college. Mm-hmm. We had a state conference, which is like a big religious group. Mm-hmm. And our neighbor was a president of the Relief Society. And she was there.
Out, Jill.
Yes, Jill. She was there at the beginning being so like, hi, welcome. Nice to meet you. Like greeting everybody.
Very prim and proper.
And we sit down and I notice Jill has left the building. So we didn't want to stay either. So I run back to the apartment and we're like, Jill, they just announced that you're bearing your testimony. You got to get back there.
Basically, you're getting up there and you're giving a talk, a sermon.
Yeah. And this is in front of lots of people. And she's like, I'll do the edited version. She's like, I don't have an effing testimony. I don't have one. And she's like putting her dress back on, heading out the door to go give her speech. Yeah, that was funny.
Oh, that was so funny. Jill and Andy. So we had that same year that we're all living, me, you, and Sarah were all living together. We had the best neighbors, Jill and Andy. And then their good friend Age would come over all the time, and Aubrey. And we had so much fun with those neighbors.
The funny thing is we didn't like each other for a lot of time because we didn't like their roommate. No, they didn't like our roommate.
Okay.
So they thought we were...
Yeah. It's not that we didn't like each other. We didn't get the opportunity to know each other. We didn't
want to get to know them.
Yeah.
They didn't want to get to know us or whatever because they thought we
because of our
were affiliated with our roommate.
Yeah. Which clearly we were not. Yeah. But I look back on that and what a shame we wasted those precious months because once you get to know these ladies... they're just, they're the best, one of a kind. Yep. And they're just fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about another prank at BYU as well. And I believe it was the same year. So our dad had been in charge of several missionaries. He was what they call a mission president in Chile. So when LDS missionaries go on their missions.
They're like 19 to 21-year-old boys.
Boys, yeah. Or girls,
typically,
too.
Yeah.
Majority were boys. But he was just kind of like their boss and in charge and helping them out, telling them where they needed to go and whatnot. So a lot of these missionaries that we got to know when we were living in Chile were at BYU. So we would hang out with a lot of them. And there was this one in particular missionary former missionary. He had been so funny. He was just a very happy-go-lucky.
Nice. Super nice guy.
Didn't have a mean bone in his body. A lot of innocence to him.
Yes.
And anyway, I won't give his name.
I think you noticed in the directory there was 2 of them.
That's right. There were 2 of the same individual in the directory. And so you called. You pretended to be me.
No. It was not you. What we did is we called and said, Bradley, this is so-and-so, not someone he knew. I was just wondering, are you ever going to come and show up for our date?
That's right.
And he was like, excuse me, I don't think we have a date. Right? No, we do. Like, it's a blind date. Your friend hooked us up and you're supposed to come and get me.
Yeah, and you said your name is Bradley such and such.
Such and such. And he's like, yeah. And then he was feeling so guilty because this poor girl was just devastated because she was being stood up on this date.
Right. But you were being like so kind of annoying and just like
very needy. Very needy.
Yeah,
and
funny. Like, I'm just imagining like an Amy Sedaris. You remind me a lot of Amy Sedaris.
And a lot of the biggest compliment I could ever get.
You do remind me a lot of Amy Sedaris, and your jokes and your pranks and your humor and your tone when you do these is very Amy Sedaris.
Yes.
So just to paint a picture for the listeners.
It was a very annoying, heartbroken nerd girl. And I can't remember, did he invite us to come over?
No, he said, and he was being very nice. He's like, that's not me. And I'm so sorry. There's a couple of us in the directory, and I'm just so sorry I'm staying. And you said, oh, no, that's okay. I can get your address in the directory. I'll just be right over. And he's like, no. And you're like, okay, I'll be right on over. And he was like trying to stop you, and you were just insisting and just hung up.
And then that's right. And then we showed, and I think I had our Billy Bob teeth, a wig, an ugly thing, and so ugly, and showed up to his house. And that poor guy, the look on his face when we showed up with this date.
And he did not recognize you. No. And that was so funny.
But then he was actually really nice. He ended up being really nice.
It's like, I almost want to give his name because I would just wanted to, like, just to paint a picture. This is a true, no, I don't. That's the thing. His name either. Bradley, I think was his first name, but he was so nice. Such a gentleman.
Speaking of Billy Bob teeth.
Let's hear it.
When John, my husband, and I, before we're dating and we're just friends, there was a weekend when he kept wanting to go out and I didn't want to go out with him, and you were at my apartment, so we didn't live together, and you're like, let's just go because I'm hungry, I want some food, have him find me a date and let's go on a date. Do you remember this? Yes. And I'm like, okay, fine. So he called and I said, okay, if you can get my sister a date, I'll go on a date with you. So he called back like an hour later. He was like, okay, I got her a date. And I said, okay. He said, we're going to go hot tubbing and out to dinner. And I said, oh, dinner part sounds great, but my sister has a wooden leg and doesn't feel comfortable getting in a hot tub. And his poor friend, bless his heart, was still up to going on the date.
Yes, very much
so
a gentleman.
So they came to pick us up, and you had your Billy Bob teeth in. Yes. And your wooden leg, supposedly. Yes. And we went to dinner.
Yep.
And you two hated each other.
Yes, we did.
He was a good sport. And
we just, for some reason, I think you guys clashed.
But
at the beginning of the night.
At the beginning of the night. Fast forward 4 hours, and they were making out on the couch to I Want Somebody. Was the
Somebody by Depeche Mode.
And John and I were on the other couch making out.
Not my finest moment. But it wasn't until a long time after that.
Oh yeah, he thought you. Oh,
no, he must have.
No. But it was for a long time, as you told him you were a comedian and you performed.
That's right.
At like,
what was that comedy? There was a comedy.
Yeah,
thing
in Provo. Yeah, and he really thought that. So.
Oh man, I'll tell you, we just have had a lot of fun doing a lot of pranks. Where do you think? When did this start?
I don't know. I remember in high school when I lived in St. John's. When we would go to like St. John, Snowflake or other places, I had an alternative person that would be Frida Tunis. Do you remember Frida Tunis?
Yes.
And I just could turn her on, and it was so ugly and funny. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know where it started from.
Well, what's funny is, remember we used to, even at BYU when we do a lot of our pranks, we would say Frida and Cece.
Frida, oh yeah, that's right. Frida and we would call Tom Okason and say Frida and Cece.
Well, we even tried stalking him once.
Yeah,
like we wanted to see. We did. So we wanted to
see
see where his parents lived because he was our really good friend there. But he was a local from Orem. And so we were like, oh, we're going to go see his house. So we found out where his family home was. Then we decided, oh, we're going to go knock on the door. And we didn't think he would be there, which he wasn't, but it was his brother that was home. And we said, is Tom here?
Yeah.
And we made up some story. We said it was Frida and Cece. Well,
We
like
got a
the
text.
next,
We got
yeah,
a phone
later,
call.
phone call. Hey, did Frida and Cece just come to my house? Was that you guys? But
You know, speaking of where it came from, we grew up at the time where everybody had a house phone.
okay.
And we would prank call people.
Now you're onto something.
Friday nights or any nights, we would prank call
That's right.
everybody, you know. And remember one time we got that phone directory from Dad.
Oh, yes.
1-800 numbers, and we would call everybody and get those
Free
we would
mail.
get free mail, whatever, or send mail to people. But
Oh, that's right. But
So-
you know what, Jill? You bring up a good point. You're right. It started back in St. John's. And so this is like in the 80s, 90s, late 80s, early
Yeah.
90s. And we didn't have a lot of video games
No.
and no tablets and just not a lot of
you had to make
technology.
your own fun. And Mom used to take us toilet papering all
Yeah.
the time. My friends doing pranks like that,
Yeah.
doorbell ditching. I remember one time the Lees, our next door neighbor. I can't remember if I was involved with it or they did it to us, but they knocked on the door with this big suitcase, and someone was inside the suitcase.
Yes.
So yeah,
Well, and that became a thing because I remember at one point I was left in a suitcase on the Fars, the old Fars on our street doorstep.
yeah. I remember. Always
Oh,
doing
so
that,
they
yeah.
would ring the doorbell and see the suitcase on their porch, and then they'd open it up and somebody was in it.
Yep. But growing up, I remember Dad would come home from work and we'd always hide behind the door or in the curtains and scare him. And like I said, my kids still do that to this day to me
That's
and
so
John,
funny.
and we do it all the time. In fact, the other night, I was waiting downstairs for like 12 minutes because I heard John upstairs, and he finally came downstairs, and I didn't know he had 1 cup of water, and I scared him, and it went all over, and yeah, so he got really mad. But
Yeah, seriously. That is so fun. But I think both of our parents were good sports about our pranks, and they had to have known a lot that we were doing, but I'm sure they did a lot
I
of
think
pranks
Dad
as
was
well.
a prankster.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think so.
He definitely was.
But yeah.
Definitely was. But that was so fun.
Another good prank about the Hall side.
Let's hear it.
A couple years ago,
This is a good one. I
long
know where
time
you're
ago.
going.
our grandpa had his second wife had passed away within a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
So I found he had this really cute picture of himself taken, like his professional studio picture of him in his cowboy boots, like on a hay bale or something.
Yes, and he has his rope there.
Rope, yeah.
Please go
I
look
gotta
at
find this.
Please go look at Julie's website page on our site so you can have
Yes.
this visual. It's
So there was
amazing.
a picture of him, so cute. And so for April Fool's, I photoshopped this really pretty lady in there, and her name was Yuva Been Pranked. And I put, like, announce a marriage of Yuva Been Pranked and Theron Hall. And I sent it to our cousins and a lot of relatives. A lot of them thought it was funny. Some of them I don't think thought it was too funny.
maybe a little sensitive.
But,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, let's just talk about my Grandpa Hall. First of all, he was a prankster.
Yeah, he was a prankster.
And he was fun and just always laughing, having a good time. He was also a ladies' man. Wouldn't you
Totally.
say?
That's why it was fitting for him. It would not be surprising if he married
was
this
just-
sexy little lady.
And not in a creepy way. Not in a creepy way, but he was just a flirt.
Yes.
But in an innocent way. And people just always loved Grandpa. Gave the best hugs. And
I
he was
got a
just like,
really good story about him, and you can edit this out if it's too bad.
Well,
I
let's hear
just
it.
heard this story
okay, let's hear it.
from, this came from Preston Rabin. Preston Rabin and his dad, I think, and Grandpa were all driving in a truck. When those ones, just the beds, I meant the benches, and they came across this lady, Velvet Patterson from St. John's, who's was very sexy.
Yeah.
And she was having car problems, so they pulled over to give her a ride. And they said, "Yeah, come on in," you know. And she was sitting on Grandpa's lap, and Grandpa said, "Velvet, you might want to scoot over and sit on his lap. I may be old, but I'm not that old."
And the creepy thing about that one is Velva had been his son's girlfriend for quite some time. Maybe
Exactly.
not at that time, but
I don't know.
oh, that is so funny. Oh, that is too funny. Grandpa was so funny. But just a lot of pranks going on in our family.
Yeah, cousins too. The Becks were always doing pranks too.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me about a prank that went wrong. Do you have one prank that just went horribly wrong and backfired on you?
You told me one the other day that just made you feel bad. That scarred you.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about
I
that
didn't
one.
remember. See, maybe I block out the ones that go
I wasn't
bad.
even thinking about that one here, but let's talk about that prank.
I was the oldest girl in our family, so I probably got babysitting jobs, and Amy, being right below me, wanted to babysit, I'm sure. Because
Oh,
at
yeah,
that
I always-
age, like, that's such a big
and I'm
deal.
maybe 12, okay?
Yeah.
And I've never had the opportunity to babysit. Actually, maybe my cousins, but like somebody that was outside of the family.
Family.
I've never been asked to babysit.
And so one day, you probably were doing something to bug me.
Probably. That's fair.
But I told her that she had a babysitting job. This makes me feel bad. I didn't realize I did this, but I told her she had a
Oh, it
babysitting
stuck with
job.
me.
And you waited for them for a long, long time to show up, and
Yep,
they
I
never
remember.
showed up. That's
Yeah,
sad.
it was. I still remember. I was so excited, and I got dressed up, and I was just on the porch, just waiting and waiting. And you finally came out. You're like, Amy, I was totally just joking, and I'll never forget that.
That's sad. I'm sorry.
It's fine because you were a nice
And
sister.
you
so.
got to babysit my kids plenty. So.
Yeah, there you go. You've made up for
I
it.
did.
No, but you were a nice sister. Okay, this may not have been so much a prank, but we grew up in a small little town, St. John's. I've said it a million times, and we just did a lot of things back then that you would not get away with doing
Totally.
nowadays. For example, we would be Sarah would probably be 8. I'd maybe be like 10, you 12, 13. And we'd be taking our parents' cars. We'd be driving around St. John's because my parents would be down in the valley on a work or for work or whatever. But they left frequently. So they would leave us with our older brothers and they would be off doing their thing. So we would get the cars or the keys to the car and we'd drive our cars around.
We wrecked them once.
Yes. But I remember one time Grandpa called and he's like, girls, I saw you, but be sure to stay on the back roads. Like we were just driving. That's just what you did in St.
Small
John's.
town, yep.
Small town.
If you weren't driving a car, you were driving a 4-wheeler or 3-wheeler around.
Yes, exactly. And we all learned how to drive at a very young age on the ranch with my grandpa. I mean, we just were driving young. Yes. But that one time we had a pretty long driveway and Julie was in one car. I was in the other. And somehow one of us backed into the other.
Yeah, I don't remember who or who.
I don't remember either.
I think we were actually in Frank and Corinne's driveway.
No.
Why does that sound? Why do I think we were in
because
that
we would always leave from our long driveway
okay.
over to theirs. But this was in our driveway.
Yeah. And the cool thing is we told our mom and dad about it. And
we fabricated a story.
Yeah, we did say we were backing out to clean out
the car to vacuum. And we're trying to do it. And we ran into each other. But my parents had gotten home from the valley. And they were in a hurry. I remember Dad had to be somewhere probably to a church meeting.
Yeah. Or Holbrook.
Yeah. And so we ran in and hurried up and told him the story. Well, he was in such a hurry and we told him the story and they never said one word to us. Like we never got
care. Nope.
I feel like we really got lucky on that one.
Yeah.
Because I would ring my kids.
Absolutely.
Do that to my cars.
Absolutely.
Oh, so fun. Okay. So we've got to go back to BYU days. Okay.
Told you. Yes.
So I feel like when I talk with my sisters, when I reminisce with you just about our life and talk about stories, there's pretty much 3 places / phases, okay? St. John's, BYU, and Chile.
Totally.
Okay, but it would have been in that right order would be St. John's, Chile, BYU,
Yes.
and then current, okay? So let's go back to the BYU. Another fun prank we did with, remember Tim?
Yes. Tim Skousen.
He had, and at the time, I think these were pretty new, those fart machines.
Yes.
And we used to have so much fun up on BYU campus. Remember?
Oh, actually one time I took one of those to my class and I taped it under the podium.
So this is one of your lectures.
Lecture
in school.
class.
Okay.
Taped on the podium because it was students were giving their presentations that day. And there was a kid in there that I could not stand. He was the biggest jerk. So I got front row and I took that fart machine. And when he got up there, I pushed it. And he kept going. I pushed it probably 6 times. And finally, he just like slammed his hands. He's like, that's not me. But I remember, yes. But Tim Skousen.
Did that make you feel good?
Yes,
'Cause
it
you
made me
couldn't
feel
stand
really
that guy
good.
and
Yeah.
you embarrassed him a little bit.
It made me feel really good. I can't remember why I can't stand him.
One more. I have to tell this one. It's a good thing. What is the term? The statute of limitation?
Oh, yeah.
Because some of these we
Could
could have
get us
gone
in a
into a
little
lot of
trouble,
trouble.
I
No
know.
joke. So BYU days again.
Yes.
We're driving in Julie's little Geo Prism.
Yep.
And
Impy. We nicknamed it Impy.
And I don't remember where we were going, but I remember the road we were on. It was down by that brick oven pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on a Sunday night. your car registration had expired.
We had left your dorms, I think.
Yeah, that's probably, I don't remember where it
remember.
was. But anyway, there were a lot of things wrong this night, okay? Your car registration had expired. You didn't have your new tags yet. You didn't have any shoes.
And I guarantee I didn't have my license on me.
Probably didn't have your license. You were speeding, and lo and behold, the cop lights. Okay,
I ran a stop sign.
Yeah, that's right.
I ran a stop
That's
sign.
right. And cops pull us over.
Yes.
And you just looked to me, and it was just so quick. You looked to me. You said, "You have kidney stones. We got to get to the hospital."
No, I think I said even just play along with whatever I say too.
Yeah, and I did, and we got pulled over, and I was just
You were hamming it up,
hamming it, acting. Oh, I gotta get. And he escorted us to the hospital. Totally annoying, out of our way. We didn't plan to go to the hospital, but it saved us probably saved you
a lot of
your
money.
license.
Yes. I have another BYU one.
Let's hear it.
So there was a kid that I had a crush on, and he lived around the corner from me, Mike Thomas. Remember him? And he was pre-med, I think. So he was always studying. And our cousin and our sister, well, Sarah had a mannequin head.
Because she was in beauty school right now.
So I took that mannequin and I went into his bedroom and I made it look like there was a girl sleeping in his bed. So he got home that night from studying really late and he goes in and he sees a girl. He's like, oh, that's so annoying. He thought it was his roommate's friend. So he slept on the couch. The next morning he goes in and gets ready and she's still there. So he's like quietly getting all his stuff and he's really annoyed. Then he comes home at lunchtime, peeks in and she's still sleeping. And he's like, man, this girl must be sick or something. So he just leaves. And that night he comes home and she's still in there and he was getting ticked. So he went in there to go wake her up and it was a mannequin. And I got a phone call right then. He knew.
He knew exactly who it was.
But yeah, so that mannequin head we used a lot.
Oh, that would be a good prank.
Yeah, we use that a lot for stuff.
I feel like if we sat here and we just kept thinking, we would probably just be pulling so many of these out of our memories.
Well, one prank our cousins did on us is they would wax their armpits and leave that gross wax stuff hanging on our door to our apartment. Who knows how many people?
So gross. We had a lot of fun. Okay, so what are you doing this year for your April Fool's joke?
I haven't thought of one yet. I gotta think of one. Every year I always do the dumb little one with my kids with the food.
What is your typical?
Like I'll just do.
What are some fun ones for moms out there? Just to get them started.
I don't know. I got it. I'm
some
kind of mean though, so I got nice ones
amateur April Fool's jokes.
Just to like make it look like it's a cupcake, but it's mashed potatoes, like meatloaf with mashed potatoes on it. My kids love. They always look forward to.
Because Julie, I honestly feel like you should be sharing these pranks and not just the prank ideas, because you come up with a lot of great ideas, but you've got to start getting some footage.
I should.
Because you would get a lot of laughs, but you really are the queen of pranks. And I've had so much fun pranking with you in my
dumb
life.
Pranks too.
Okay, I asked you what you would do, and you said, "Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of mean with my pranks." What are some of the meaner pranks you've done for your kids?
Well, a lot of them aren't just like pranks, but I don't know. I like when I tease them, I'm kind of mean to them, got them scared. Like I did copy one of those pranks where they had that girl when her hair was falling out. Did you see that?
No.
This girl was washing her hair. Edit this one out because this isn't my real idea. But
okay.
This mom was washing this girl's hair, but she had cut Barbie doll hair and it was coming out. And the little girl was like, yeah. But I did because Amelia got gum in her hair and
you were trying to teach
her a lesson.
Have you traumatized any of your children so far with any of your pranks?
I don't know. I'm sure I have.
I think your kids are doing okay.
Yeah, my kids have probably traumatized other kids by doing pranks on them too, Yeah.
You said something earlier. You said you tease your kids a lot.
Yes.
You know what? That's probably a good thing nowadays because I feel like this generation is this is from the mouth of my husband. This generation is weak. And I feel like sometimes parents, and I probably find myself doing the same thing. We tend to coddle our kids and protect them so much. We just want to protect them from everything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a fine line because it's good to protect your kids, right? You want to coddle them to an extent, but you've also got to teach them to be tough, right?
Yeah, and have a good sense of humor on stuff too. Like just laugh at yourself. That's That's the biggest thing, is laugh at yourself or laugh at other people.
And humor is key. As
Totally.
Jeff, my brother, would say, like, this is a tough road. There's a lot of darkness, but you've got to find some light, and comedy and humor is a great way to do it.
Totally.
So you've got to, I think you bring comedy into your house a lot just with your pranks and your jokes, because it is so fun.
It is fun.
I feel like we're due for a good big prank.
I know. It's right around the corner. I got to think of something.
Yeah. But I'm talking one together.
Oh, let's do it.
Where we, it's
Well,
been a
another
long
thing
time.
is, this is off subject, but we need to do our investigating. I think that's where our prank started is our investigating.
Okay,
Or
it
private
doesn't matter
investigating.
that we're off topic, because
We need to be hired. People need to hire us out to do pranks. That's what it needs to be.
we need to be hired out to do pranks and maybe some investigation.
Yeah.
There's a new movie out right now that was made in I think New Zealand, and it's about people that do, they're not pranks, but they go and they break up. They tell people that they're being broken up with. Kind of remind me.
Oh, yeah. So they're doing the dirty work for them.
Yeah, they're called the breakuppers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
Instead of being like, like the messages when people go and do like the singing messages,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
they do funny like skits to tell people that they've been dumped.
Oh, that's
That's
pretty
funny.
funny. Yeah, I feel like our pranks, we have put a lot of work into a lot of them, and we have had to do a lot of investigation.
Yeah. But I think that's where they come from, though, too. It's like,
Yeah.
we want to find out where so-and-so lives, so we
Right.
do a prank on. Or how can we get in there or whatever,
Yeah,
you know?
it's never enough just to say, okay, we got to find out where so-and-so works or so-and-so lives.
We got to do something.
We got to kick it up a notch, and we're going to get in there somehow.
Totally.
And we do it.
Totally. Yeah.
That reminds me of a story, and this has nothing to do with a prank or an investigation, but just an example of where we tend to push the limits and just go.
Yeah.
In Santiago, Chile, we saw U2, their pop tour, and we had like these awful seats like clear in the back.
And you just make your way down there.
Somehow we were like right there on the floor.
Yep.
Like we got in there somehow, passing. When we met Bill Clinton. When we met Bill Clinton in, were you with me or was it just Sarah?
It wasn't me. Mm-mm.
Sarah was with me. ASU campus. I got past. No joke. I got past his Secret Service, and I was like right up there shaking his hand, and he's telling me, "We're gonna win this thing. We're gonna win this thing." Shaking my hand, but Sarah was like, "Amy, you literally got past Secret Service."
Amy, you kind of look like Monica Lewinsky.
Hey, you know what? I will take that as a compliment because physically, she's a pretty attractive lady.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah,
she's
very
aged
pretty.
well.
I gotta look her up.
But you know what, Chef? You're right. There is some resemblance. The dark hair.
Well, I think
That
not
is
only
pretty
did you
funny.
meet Bill Clinton, he actually hit on you. That's what I would be telling people.
Oh, he was shaking everybody's hand and
No.
saying the same thing. But even Sarah was like, "Man, you got past the." I have a picture. I'm gonna put a picture on my site so you guys can see. I'm like literally right up there. You can see the Secret Service. It's just
John always gets mad at me because a lot of times I just feel like those rules are not. You can just get past the rules. You know, who cares? Just do your own. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, to an extent, you have to be careful with that, right? You're not
Yeah.
going to teach your kids to
No.
like rules don't matter. But in like
but
things
in
like this,
certain things like that.
when
yeah,
you have a
just-
conscience and you know you're not doing something that's
Absolutely.
harmful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Sometimes you just got to live, right? It's just a
get in
little
there
bit
and do it.
little adventure. You just got to push those limits.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And we did
When
a
there's
good
not
job.
big consequences.
Yes.
There's big consequences to the no.
Okay. This isn't so much a prank, but talking about just bending the rules a little bit. Growing up, so we went to high school in Santiago, Chile.
Mm-hmm.
And they, at the time, I went to private school, international school, just not your typical school. They would send our report cards home with the bus driver. Do you remember that? Or
Yeah.
somebody would deliver.
They mailed them home.
Was
Was
it-
our mail would be delivered to our
It
front
was
door, right?
mailed. I don't remember that. Or I don't know why
Somehow
I think
it was
that
delivered to our front door.
the gardener that worked at our house, our handyman, Justo, he would intercept those report
Yeah.
cards for us. He knew exactly what he'd been doing because he had been working at this house for years and all these
other kids.
different families coming in and, leaving. And he would do it for everybody. But he would intercept our...
But the funny thing is, Mom and
Report
Dad
cards.
didn't even care.
But I remember being so sad because you and Julia or Sarah were like, nope, they don't need to see these. I'd be like, but I want to show 'em my report card, but I never got to show 'em my report card because Julia and Sarah didn't want to show them theirs. Not that mine was anything fantastic.
Oh, I'm sure it was. Yes.
You know what's funny about Justo?
Let's talk about it.
Justo is times we went to Jumbo.
Yep.
And we would
Jumbo
buy
was the big grocery store.
the big grocery store, and I'd go with him, and we would end up buying beer. And then we would put it in the old refrigerator. And he would always do it, and like I think he'd been doing that for years.
Really?
Yeah, and I caught him, and because he just kind of threw it there. I'm like, "Why are you getting beer?" He goes, "Oh, I cook with it all the time."
Yeah.
Sure.
That's funny.
And then there was that one refrigerator that was way in the
the
other, not in the garage, but there was like,
Back by the wine cellar.
the wine.
Yeah.
No, not the one outside.
Okay.
Remember where the basketball hoop
Oh,
was?
yeah.
There was like those living quarters out there where
Yeah.
there's a refrigerator in there.
Yeah.
And that's where he would put them.
I do remember that. Oh, man.
Goofy stuff.
But if mom and dad only knew half the stuff that we were up to.
I know.
But the nice thing is we never really did a lot of damage. We
No.
didn't do bad things. We just had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we learned how to laugh. And I think it's kind of helped us learn how to socialize with people and just kind of be carefree.
Yeah.
Because you figure we could strike up a conversation with anybody.
Anybody, yeah.
Anybody. We were always talking to anybody.
Yeah.
Right? It's just
Totally.
like... But I think that what you said, you made actually a very good point, though. It's good to laugh. You have to learn how to laugh at yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely at yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes we get a little wound up a little too tight. I find myself doing the same thing. We just take things a little too seriously sometimes. Sometimes you just got to loosen up and just enjoy life.
I was just thinking one prank that happened to me, kind of. I was working here in the valley. And it was like must have been in the nice weather because I was driving on the freeway. My windows were down. And this really handsome African-American guy is next to me for a while. We kept making eye contact. And finally, he rolled down his window. He's like, "Hey, Julie." And I'm like, "I don't know you." And we're like talking through the freeway, you know. And then finally, he's like, "Give me your phone number." And I'm like, "No, you know, whatever."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Give me your phone number." And I called it, which is so dumb because he had my phone number anyway. But it turned out he was hitting on me, but I had my name tag on, and I didn't realize that. He saw my name was Julie. This is Dave.
Oh, yes.
And we went on, you know, and had a little bit of dating together. But
I even hung out at his place once.
Yes.
That is so funny. And you just happened to meet him.
and I had my name tag on, and later he confessed that's how he knew me. But he had me going that I can't remember how he said we knew each
that
other.
is so funny.
Yeah, because of my name tag. So, yeah,
Prince.
remember it.
Oh, yes. Yes. And then we just always have had such a variety of friends. One of our good friends that we would hang out with, again, back at our BYU days, was an owner of a Mexican restaurant.
Andy.
Andy.
Yes,
and he was
absolutely.
kind of like our grandpa. And I think we met him through our older brother, Andy, who had done a lot of plumbing work for him. But we just became such
Andy
good
came to
friends
the
with him.
hospital when I had my first baby, Eleanor.
So he was like,
Yeah.
he was a friend of ours, and this is not in a creepy way. Nowadays, you'd think like, oh, he's older,
No.
but he was kind of like a grandpa to us, and
Totally.
we'd go have dinner with him once a week at
least,
his
yeah,
restaurant, the
restaurant.
best Mexican food,
Yep.
and then he'd have our friends, and he was just the nicest guy, but he was lonely. He didn't have a lot of family.
No,
He was
yeah.
a widower, and we were just kind of like his. You know,
We went to his cabin
granddaughters.
once in a
Yeah,
week.
we
Yeah.
did. I mean, he was just a fun,
fun guy,
guy.
yeah.
But our friends are just very random.
Oh, very random.
But I feel like we need to have a whole episode focused on our next door neighbors, Jill, Andy.
We need a
H.
reunion.
Yes, we need a reunion, and we need to record this reunion.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, for sure.
It should be
In
one
Montenegro.
And-
Can we get
yes.
it sponsored?
of our Lady D concert because they were there.
Yes.
Lady D.
let's do it. No, they're
One's in Montenegro, one's in Washington, D.C. One is in
San
Utah that's
Francisco.
coming down in April that has agreed to be on this.
And-
H.
yep, H.
And the other's in San Francisco. And where they've all ended up is just so fascinating. They're all very brilliant. Attorney. But yeah, just two attorneys, audiologist, somebody working with the Foreign Service. I mean, these women are
awesome.
fascinating.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
They're good. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good time. So looping back to our childhood, we're going to go back to the St. John's days. This is probably, Julie, where we got a lot of it from. The influence of our older brothers.
Yes.
Because they
True.
used to...
Very true.
We have 4 older brothers, and they used to do a lot of teasing. You said the word teasing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back, I'm grateful I had these 4 older brothers that would tease me.
Yeah.
Because they taught
made
us
us tough.
They made us tough. And we just, looking back, I can laugh at some of this stuff, but we had, just imagine 4 older brothers teasing you a lot.
Totally.
So, like I said earlier, we did a lot of things back then that just not smart to do now. One, for example, we used to jump off of our roof onto the trampoline.
all the time was our favorite thing.
Yes. And so one time we got on the ladder, got onto the roof, we're about to jump off, and then we noticed our brothers had moved the trampoline.
Not only this, but preface this with our parents were probably down in the valley, which is 4 hours
Yes,
drive.
they were gone this time.
And so there were no parents supervising.
Yes.
So they moved the trampoline.
So that we wouldn't, this is the easy fix for babysitting our little sisters. Oh, they're on the roof. Hurry. Let's move the
Leave.
trampoline. We got ourselves a couple of hours to go do
Yeah,
something.
we were stuck on there for a couple
stuck
hours.
on the roof for a couple of hours while our brothers are all hanging out. But I don't remember crying and being sad about it.
No. Well, I'm
that
sure
point.
we were, but then they bribed us.
Yeah.
I remember when mom and dad would leave out of town, they would lock us in my mom and dad's room and take us to the gas station and rent a flick where you can rent your VHS movie.
Yes.
And let us pick anything out and then lock us in there for a weekend.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like nowadays, I would love to be locked in a room for a whole weekend with just all these movies and all the junk food I wanted.
Seriously, yeah.
But we never told our parents because I'm sure our brothers bribed us.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just, and we weren't tortured by any, well.
Jeff left the room. I maybe got tortured a little bit. And in Jeff's defense, I probably egged it on a little bit.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But Jeff got tortured. Our other brothers would torture Jeff in defense. So
yeah,
he probably
Jeff
got
was probably the most
yeah,
tortured of them
for
all,
sure,
being the fourth
absolutely.
boy. But we had a fun childhood, a lot of laughs, a lot of adventures, and
yeah. I think now that I think about it, I think Dad kind of. I don't know. Do you think? I remember I heard stories about Dad's childhood and stuff. I feel like he was kind of a prankster.
total prankster, and
Can't
just
think of
fun.
one, but-
And then our mom wasn't too uptight.
Oh,
she was
no,
good
yeah.
and very, she like you said, she'd let us go toilet paper and she'd let
she
us
would
do
take
these
us.
things.
Yeah, take us spotlighting. I remember one
Yeah.
time she took us spotlighting. My brother had a big spotlight. We would spotlight inside people's windows.
But yeah, so I'm glad that we had a mom that was able to just kind of let loose and let us laugh about those kinds of things. One more prank. You said you had another prank.
Oh, I can't think of them.
You said
this is one little thing. I remember my best friend Summer and her mom would always make us go to the gas station because she'd say she had a headache and she needed her Pepsi. So I'd always go and get her caffeine free because she said the caffeine made her headache feel better. And Summer and I would laugh so hard because Summer first time was so nervous. No, she'll know the difference. No, I'll get in trouble. I'm like, no, she won't. And she would always say, oh, my headache feels so much better. But she was drinking caffeine free.
Oh, that's funny. But in her mind, it was like a placebo.
Yeah. Oh, but talk about your good trick you did at your work with your chocolates.
Oh, this is a good one.
This is a
So
good-
a few years ago, you may remember this, Jeff. Habaneros, chocolate covered habaneros. There was a guy that we worked with, colleague of ours, and he would just love to come by people's desks and just help himself to anything. Candy, treats, any food. He would just come and help himself. Yes. So one time I thought, oh, this will be funny. I'm going to get habaneros and I'm going to dip them in chocolate. So I made them look like homemade almond roca.
Yeah.
So I cut up these habaneros, left all the seeds, everything. I dipped them in chocolate and then I rolled them in chopped up almonds. And I came and I put them on my desk. Do you remember that? And he came, of course, comes by, of course, sees them, helps himself, and popped one in his mouth. And his mouth was burning. It was burning. But you know what? He laughed about it. It was a good sport.
That's good.
But I have actually a lot of funny work pranks. I won't share half of them on here because I'm still employed with the company.
Yeah, you're a good prankster too.
So I've got to, yeah. But yeah, it was pretty fun. Good
Do you ever
prankster.
prank Davey?
I should more. I rarely prank him. I'll joke with him sometimes. The other day I went over to his parents' house to drop something off. And I got back in the car. I said, and his parents are newly empty nesters. So I called Dave. I said, Dave, you're never going to believe what I just walked in on. I just walked in on your parents doing the dirty in the kitchen. And he was just so grossed out. I'm like, oh, Amy, I don't want to hear this. I was like, I'm totally joking, Davey. So, but like, I'll joke with him about certain things like that. I'm a good, I'll play jokes,
joke with him.
but I really should start thinking about some pranks because I haven't done a good prank in a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing we used to do too, and this is a good one for you listeners that need just something fun to do. A prank doesn't cause a lot of harm, but it'll gross a lot of people out. We used to go to Food City, or Reams was the grocery store in Provo, and we'd buy those nasty looking chicken feet.
legs.
And chicken feet, and we'd paint their fingernails red, and we'd tie them on strings, and we'd go hang them outside people's doors
Or in their shower.
or in
the
their
shower
shower.
heads. So when they're in the shower, they see those.
We're like that creepy, like on a campus, like that creepy murderer or somebody like that leaves these like certain gross things around. We were like the creepers that left hanging chicken feet with red painted fingernails all over BYU.
gross.
Not on campus, but people's apartments, our friends, and
Yes,
doing
that
those
was fun.
pranks. But that's always a fun one.
I'm going to do that.
I mean,
girl's shower.
That is mean. That is good. But we do a lot of those things, but I haven't done a good prank in a while.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I just really want to teach my kids, though, the importance of laughter. And like you said, and just learning to laugh at yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because that you have to learn to laugh at yourself, because you're going to fall down. You're going to make all sorts of mistakes. You're going to do dumb stuff. But if you can just kind of laugh at yourself and just know it's okay to move on.
What everyone thinks of you. If you can laugh at yourself, then who cares?
It's so true. That is a very valuable lesson that I want to start teaching my kids. That just make it more important,
Yeah.
just an important part in my raising my kids, teaching them how to laugh at themselves. Not laugh at others to make other people feel stupid.
No,
but
there's a total difference.
Exactly. But learning to laugh at.
I used to, when I would drive to Utah, I meant from Utah to Arizona, I would either never tell mom and dad I was coming, or tell them I was coming a day later and then just show up.
Yeah.
I remember one time I rang the doorbell and Eleanor was just a baby, and I just left her in the
I do remember
in
that.
the car seat on the front porch,
Yeah, that's fun.
Just little things. I remember Dad did that in college. That's how I got the idea.
Really?
Dad did that with his mom. He went to his friend's house when he got to St. John's and said, the weather's really bad. I won't be there for like 10 more hours or whatever. And then he showed up right there, and I think Grandma Hall was kind of mad at him,
but so excited.
Yeah.
That's fun to surprise them. See, that's where it comes from. It's in our blood. It's in our veins. And I'm sure our grandparents did a lot of pranks and a lot of joking around.
Totally.
That's fun.
Actually, I remember too, one time, some of my college friends were getting together for dinner, a meetup, and I didn't really want to go. I had just had a baby. I wasn't feeling good about myself. So I found the ugliest costume I could find, wig, makeup, dress, really ugly, and went to the restaurant. And I showed up and was sitting, just sitting there talking to someone first, my one friend, Brandy, and she had no idea who I was at first, and then told her who I was. Yeah.
Oh, talking about dressing up, I love how you love to embarrass your kids on Halloween.
Oh, every Halloween I have to dress up. Our school does a school parade, and I'm one of 3 moms that will dress up at the school and embarrasses them, but I know deep down they'd be disappointed if I didn't.
If you didn't. Yeah, they may say it does embarrass them.
But that's another thing, is I can't do a pretty Halloween costume.
Yes,
a cute
you
one.
can.
No, I go for the ugliest.
You got a little Amy Sedaris in you.
I know. Miranda sings. I do the ugliest thing. I was Miss Hannigan this year.
It was fantastic.
Just really ugly stuff. Yeah. Amy Sedaris. I think she is my...
You do. You have a lot of Amy Sedaris in you.
Yeah, I love her.
Oh, that's so funny. But your kids, when they're our age and they're talking back about their childhood, they will talk about their mom doing their pranks.
Yes, if I scarred them, maybe my Halloween stuff is scarred. I don't know.
Awesome. All right, Gina. Well, thank you so much for diving in. And I hope everyone has enjoyed some of these fun pranks and stories. But I want to do a special episode because I know how much you love April Fools. And you've relit my fire. And I want to go out and do some pranks. So all my friends and family, watch out. We're going to have some pranks. All right,
Amy.
Hey, thanks for diving in, Jules. Yep. We are done, Jeff.